What is going on, Pretender here, back with another Honkai Star Oak guide, and today I'm here with a full build guide for the 3.4 character Phainon. So in this video, I'm going to be taking you over everything you do need to know, including an overview on his kit and Eidolons. Then I'll be taking you over Lightcone options, followed by that will be Relics and Planar ornament options, and at the very end will be Mainstat and Substat recommendations for the Relics themselves. I plan on having a full build guide for almost every single 3.4 new and returning character. You are now watching the Phainon one, and throughout this week there will be one for Chibi, Sunday, and then Sparkle. Followed by that will be Jinglu. There will not be one for Blade or Firefly, as their builds are entirely unchanged. And I do have a recent one I already did for Blade, so I will be linking ones that I made in the past that have received no changes to instead. That's all I wanted to say. Before I get into the video, if you guys found this video helpful in any way, shape, or form, dropping a like would be greatly appreciated. If you're new and haven't done so already, be sure to subscribe and turn the bell icon for future videos like this, along with all the types of Star Oak content and guides. If you know anyone that may need a Phainon guide, be sure to send them this video, and be sure to check out the description to join the Discord server, and let's get straight into the video. So Phainon is a physical character following the path of destruction. His basic attack will deal physical damage equal to 100% of Phainon's attack to a designated enemy. His skill gives him 2 stacks of Core Flame, and then will deal physical damage equal to 300% of Phainon's attack to one enemy, and physical damage equal to 120% of Phainon's attack to adjacent targets. His ultimate allows him to transform and deploys the territory during his transformation. In his transformation, your teammates will be considered departed, and that means that they will not be able to actually take action, as they are technically no longer on the field. Do note, buffs that you do have on Phainon will retain. Also will implant physical weakness on all enemies. The transformation does not have its own turn, but instead of that has 8 extra turns with a fixed speed equal to 60% of Phainon's base speed. And at the start of Phainon's transformation's final extra turn, you will immediately launch a final hit that will deal physical damage equal to 960% of Phainon's attack that is evenly distributed across all enemies. Phainon's base talent will make it to where once he does have 12 core flame points, you will then be able to use his ultimate. And you can also accumulate up to 3 excess points of core flame. And so, once your transformation does end, you can gain Core Flame based on the excess points. Anytime Phainon is the target of any target's ability, Phainon will gain a point of Core Flame. If the ability uses is Phainon's teammate, Phainon will get an additional 30% increase to crit damage for 3 turns. Now actually going over the enhanced skills that you do have in his transformed ultimate. So he does gain access to a enhanced basic attack, an enhanced skill that is also a counter, and also the main one, which is an enhanced skill that is a meteor. The first one, the enhanced basic attack, will let him obtain 2 scourge stacks, dealing physical damage equal to 250% of his attack to a designated enemy, and damage equal to 75% of Phainon's attack to adjacent targets. The counter will allow him to gain scourge stacks by an amount that is equal to the enemies present, and also a stack of soul scourge. After that, you let everyone that is an enemy on the field gain a turn to attack you, and when you are in the soul scourge state, you reduce the damage that Phainon will receive it by 75% and gain an additional stack of Soul Scourge after enemy targets take action. Once all the enemies have attacked, you will launch a counter attack after the aforementioned enemies take their actions, dealing physical damage equal to 40% of Phainon's attack, as well as dealing 4 instances of damage, each instance being physical damage equal to 30% of Phainon's attack. And after that, Soul Rending Blaze is dispelled. Each stack of Soul Rending Blaze that you do have will increase the counter attack's damage multiplier by 20% of the original multiplier, and damage dealt through the ability is considered as skill damage. If you do have Soul Rending Blaze active at the start of Phainon's extra turn, you will immediately launch the counter. And then for the Meteor Enhanced skill, it will first dispel every debuff that the unit does have, and then will deal physical damage up to 170% of Phainon's attack. For every point of bruise that you do consume, you will deal 4 instances of damage equal to 45% of Phainon's attack dealt to one random enemy, and when consuming 4 stacks of bruise, additionally deals physical damage equal to 450% of Phainon's attack that is distributed evenly among all enemies hit. As for his talent when he is in the transformed state, when transforming you gain 4 stacks of bruise. If it is during a ally target's turn, all buffs on that ally target will be extended by a turn, and then the current turn ends. Transformed Phainon is immune to crowd control debuffs and also has an enhanced basic attack and 2 enhanced skills, which we did just go over. He also will get a 80% increase to attack and a 270% increase to his max HP. After he does attack, he also will restore HP equal to 20% of his max HP, And if Phainon in his transform state does end up getting knocked down, rather than dying, he will restore HP equal to 250% of his max HP and launch his final hit immediately. For every one remaining extra turn that you do have, the final hits multiplier will reduce by 12.5% of its original multiplier, and once you do exit his ultimate, everyone on your team will gain a 15% increase to speed for 1 turn. His technique: when Phainon is on the team, increases max technique points by 3. Actively using the technique will consume 2 technique points and will immediately attack all enemies within his set range. And after you do enter battle, you will first regenerate 25 energy for all your allies and will also gain 2 scored stacks and a skill point. You also deal physical damage equal to 200% of Phainon's attack to all enemies at the start of every wave. And if you do attack a normal enemy, so a non-boss or non-elite, you will immediately kill them. And if you do use the technique and no one is hit, you do not consume a technique point. For his bonus traces, his A2, at the start of the battle, gains 1 point of Core Flame, and when the transformation ends, gains 3 stacks of Core Flame. His A4, when receiving healing effects or shields from a teammate, increases damage dealt by 45% for 4 turns, and cannot be triggered repeatedly within 1 turn. When receiving energy regen ability effects provided by teammates, gains a stack of Core Flame. And his A6, when entering battle or when his transformation does end, he gets a 40% increase to attack that stacks up to 2 times. And finally, for his Eidolons, his E1, every enemy target that you do defeat within your transformation, the inheritance ratio of Phainon's extra turn speed increases by 1% up to 84%. And when using ultimate, crit damage will increase by 50% for 3 turns. His E2 will increase his physical res pen by 20%, and when consuming 4 scored stacks to use Foundation Star Death Verdict, you will gain an extra turn. His E4, when using Calamity Soul Scorch Edict, additionally gains 4 stacks of Soul Scorch. And his E6, the number of overflow point for Core Flame no longer has an upper limit, gains 6 Core Flames. After using Foundation Star Death Verdict's attack, additionally deals true damage equal to 36% of the total damage dealt in the attack to the enemy with the highest HP. When we do take a look at Lightcone options for Phainon, bar and none his best one is going to be his signature Lightcone, which is also better by a very significant margin, like 40% at that, as it does increase the wearer's base speed by 12%, and when the wearer deals damage, ignores 18% of the target's defense. After the wearer uses ultimate, obtains Blazing Sun, which will be removed at the start of their turn, and when you do have Blazing Sun, increases the wearer's damage dealt by 60%. So the main reason it's so strong is primarily because of the base speed increase, as Phainon's extra turn scale off his base speed and not actual speed. So this allowing you to get more base speed is going to allow his extra turns to act quicker and let you cycle through them faster, resulting in more damage quicker. On top of that, it provides you 18% defense ignore for free, and Blazing Sun, the way it does work, would be starting at his turn it would be removed, so it practically wouldn't work. But if you do remember, Phainon's ultimate is considered extra turns and not actually a turn. So because of that, throughout the entire duration of his actual ultimate, he has a 60% increase to his damage dealt. So primarily for the fact of the base speed, also gaining access to defense ignore, which becomes even stronger if you pair with other defense ignore sources. And to top it all off, giving his ultimate 60% damage dealt throughout the entire turn. And on top of that, giving his ultimate duration 60% damage dealt for all his extra turns, is why it is far and none his best option. Another really good option for him is actually going to be the brand new Battle Pass Lightcone coming in the 3.4 update. For destruction characters, as we do see it increases the wearer's crit rate by 12% and also the damage of skill and ultimate by 24%. Once you are able to S5 this, it does become 20% for crit rate and a 40% increase to skill and ultimate damage. You're mainly focusing on the skill damage side of Phainon, as his enhanced attacks for skill is his primary sources of damage. And on top of that, 20% crit rate will make it to where it is easier to build, because 20% crit rate is very good. So getting 20% crit rate will help you balance more between your crit stats and help you have a more healthy crit stat. And now your skill, your enhanced skills are going to be doing more damage for absolutely free, which is why it's another really good Lightcone to use. When it comes to some other options, the Herder Shop Lightcone is also a really good Lightcone, due to the fact that it does increase the wearer's attack by 8% every time the wearer does attack, stacks up to 4 times, and after the wearer does break an enemy's weakness, will increase damage dealt by 12%, and at S5 it's a 16% increase to attack with a 24% increase to damage dealt. You attack quite frequently with Phainon, especially because your action advancing him a lot outside of ultimate, and then his ultimate attacks a lot as well. So getting the full effect of the Lightcone giving you 16%, stacking up to 4 times, throughout the entire battle is really strong, and at some point Phainon can very easily break enemies' weaknesses, especially since he can implant physical weakness in his ultimate. So when both of these parts are fully active, all 4 stacks and the damaged out, it is his second best in slot for the most part. Another option you can actually use is the Lightcone from the standard banner. Increases the wearer's attack by 24%. When the wearer defeats an enemy or is hit, immediately restores HP equal to 8% of the wearer's attack. At the same time, the wearer's damage is increased by 24% until the end of their next turn, can't stack, and can only trigger 1 time per turn. So free attack is going to increase his overall damage. Phainon is going to be getting attacked a lot, especially at his ultimate, since he is the only one on the field to be attacked. And if you do use his counter, you're going to be restoring even more HP every time you are attacked, as he already can restore when he is attacking, so now you can actually have the opposite for when you get attacked and get some more HP back, further increasing his survivability. And you also get a free 24% increase to the wearer's damage, which is why overall it is another nice option you can use. Another option you can use is a Secret Vow, increasing damage dealt by the wearer by 20%, and the wearer also deals 20% extra damage to enemies whose current HP is equal to or lower than the wearer's current HP percentage, and at S5 it's 40% for both. So at base, it's free 40% damage, and if you are able to have the second part of the Lightcone, it becomes a lot stronger, giving you a total of 80% damage increase, and if you don't have the extra 40% active, then it becomes a lot worse. But if you don't have any of the other options available, this is one you still can use, even if you don't have the last part active. And then finally, Under the Blue Sky is also a pretty good option, increasing the wearer's attack by 60%, and when the wearer defeats an enemy, increases the wearer's crit rate by 12% for 3 turns. And at S5, it is a 32% increase to attack with a 24% increase to crit rate. So free attack again is going to increase his overall damage, and Phainon will have no problem defeating enemies, especially ones on the side that have lower HP pools. So it's very easy to keep a 24% uptime crit rate on him, and 24% is a lot of crit rate to consider in your builds, which is why this also makes it easier for him to build and will also make his performance even better, and is also just a good usable option to use. When it does come to what relics you do want to use on Phainon, his best in slot is going to be 4-piece Wave Strider. 2-piece increases crit damage by 16%, and the 4-piece when the wearer becomes a target of another ally target's ability, gains a stack of help, stacking up to 2 times. If there are 2 stacks of help, when the wearer uses their ultimate, consumes all help stacks to increase the wearer's attack by 48% for 1 turn. 2-piece will increase all sources of damage you do if you do crit, as you will have more crit damage, and the 4-piece is really easy to use with Phainon, as he already wants to be the target of one ally's ability, as that is another form of how he does gain his core flame. So using something like Sunday skill, Sunday ultimate, Sparkle skill, Brony skill, and so on. So at the same time of you giving core flame, you're also activating this actual 4-piece, and once you do have those 2 stacks of help, you use your ultimate and you will get a 48% increase to attack throughout the entire duration of Phainon's ultimate, because once again, remember, his ultimate turns are not considered turns, they are extra turns. So he would lose the buff next time, and that would be when he does dispel the ultimate. So overall, it is his best in slot, as everything it does provide is really good and it is very easy to get. Another good option you can use is 4-piece of the Scholar set. 2-piece increases crit rate by 8%, and the 4-piece increases damage dealt by the wearer's skill and ultimate by 20%. After using ultimate, additionally increases the damage dealt by the next skill by 25%. 2-piece makes it easier for him to build, as you are getting some more crit rate. And the 4-piece, it's primarily for the skill being increased by 20%. The first time you do use one of his enhanced skills after you do use his ultimate will have that increased multiplier, but for the rest it won't. So for the most part, you'll be focusing on just getting the 20% increase to the actual damage dealt by the skill, as you are only ulting once in that entire ult rotation. So the first one will get that extra 25% while the rest won't. But again, 2-piece makes him easier to build, and the skill you are doing in his ultimate will have that 20% increase to damage dealt, so every skill you do in that enhanced ultimate will be doing more damage, which is why it is another good and usable set. The last 4-piece that is usable on him but isn't as good as the other 2 is going to be 4-piece of the physical set. 2-piece increases physical damage by 10%, and the 4-piece after the wear attacks or is hit increases their attack by 5% for the rest of the battle and can be stacked up to 5 times. So 2-piece will also increase his overall damage sources, as he does do physical damage. 4-piece is also really easy to stack, as he does just need to attack. They're able to stack it up outside of ultimate, in ultimate, and so on. And it gives you up to a free 25% increase to attack for the rest of the battle. So just free damage you can get. Past that, it would be combining 2 pieces, so you can do 2-piece Scholar and 2-piece Wave Shatter for 2-piece crit rate and 2-piece crit damage, 2-piece of one of those and do 2-piece physical set for the physical damage bonus, or do 2-piece of any of those and do 2-piece of one of the attack percent increasing sets, so Musketeers, the Dot set, Windsoric set, and Hero set. But overall, definitely recommend just getting a 4-piece Wave Shatter Captain, or at least use a 4-piece Scholar in the meantime. And for his best Planar ornaments, the brand new set coming in 3.4 is actually going to be his best in slot, but do know it is only like 2% better than the next option, I will say. So you really don't have to wait to farm for this. If you already have good pieces of the one I'm going to mention after this, then that's perfect. You don't actually have to farm this, it's really not that much of a difference. But if you do indeed want to farm it, what it does is when there are currently more or less than 4 allied targets in battle, each additional / missing allied target increases the wearer and their member spread's damage by 9% / 12%, up to a maximum of 4 / 3 stacks. He doesn't actually have a member spread, so you ignore that part. But in his ultimate, he gets rid of everyone, so he's able to have that full 12% actual attack bonus. But as he does actually get rid of everyone on the field in his ultimate, he is able to get that 12% damage bonus. So in his ultimate, it becomes a actual free 12% increase to his damage. So every form of damage you do, it is a 12% increase to that damage, and is his overall best in slot, albeit by not too much. Again, roughly about 2%. The other best option is indeed Ruling Arena, increasing the wearer's crit rate by 8%, and when the wearer's current crit rate reaches 70% or higher, damage dealt by basic attack and skill increases by 20%. 8% crit rate, it will make it easier to build. 70% or higher crit rate, that's going to be what you already want. And he does have an enhanced basic attack, so that when you do use it, which you will actually use it pretty frequently, you want to use skill as much as possible, but there will be times where you use that enhanced basic attack. That also gets the damage bonus, and then his main source of damage being skill / enhanced skill also gets that 20% damage bonus. So the two forms of the most damage you will see, especially the skill, are getting that buff, which is why it's overall his next best in slot. Again, the difference is really 2%, and this has already been in the game for a while and is currently in the game. So you could very much just farm this now, or you maybe already have it set laying around. The difference is very small. This next option does depend if you are building him on speed boots. And if you are building him on an above breakpoint build with speed boots, then you can actually use Glam Off. And what it does is increases the wearer's attack by 12% when the wearer's speed is equal to or higher than 135 / 160, where it will deal 12% / 18% more damage. So free 12% attack is going to increase his overall damage. You ignore the 160 speed part because for the most part you won't be hitting that. But again, if you are building him with speed boots to get him up to a breakpoint speed where you do a -1 build, you can very much run this for that free 12% damage, which makes it another option you can indeed use. Very much worse than the brand new set coming out and also Ruling Arena, but again, it is still an option you can use if you have really good pieces laying around. For the main stats on the relics, for the body, you want to run crit rate or crit damage corresponding to which one you do need more, which will usually always be crit rate. For the feet, you can either do attack percent or speed. Attack percent is usually going to be the way to go, and you pair him with hyper speed supports, as the higher attack percent is going to increase the damage off his ultimate and the extra turns in the ultimate. Running speed boots, you gotta remember the extra turns that he does have in his ultimate do not scale off that additive speed. It is only his base speed, and speed boots do not count for that. The reason you run speed boots is to have a -1 build outside of the ultimate, just so you can get his ultimate quicker. You can still technically do more damage outside of the ultimate as you're getting 2 skills rather than 1. So that's why it is still a viable option to use. But ideally, usually you would go attack percent. For the orb, you can do physical damage or attack percent orb as well, just use whatever has the best substats. Physical damage will usually be better, but if you have a really good attack percent orb, that will work fine. And for the link rope, you want to do attack percent. For the substats, first, if you are doing speed boots, you want to prioritize getting him to around 135 / 136 to have that -1 speed build, or whatever speed you would need to actually achieve that -1, but that's only for people running speed boots. If you're running attack percent, ignore that entirely. Past that will be your generic crit rate, crit damage, and attack percent rolls. Getting as much crit rate as possible. If you are using Sunday, get around 80%. If you're not using Sunday, getting around 85 to 90 minimum will be ideal. Just be sure to factor in any other buffs you may have that will give some crit rate. More crit damage obviously is going to be better, as anytime you do crit, you'll be doing more damage. And more attack percent will increase his overall damage as well. So once again, first, if you are doing speed boots, focus on getting enough speed subsets to get him to that -1 level. Past that, more crit rate, get it as high as possible. If you're running Sunday, again, around 80%. If you're not running Sunday and you're not really running anyone else that gives crit rate, and you don't really have any other sources, then getting around 85 to 90% minimum. Closer to 100% will be better. And then as much crit damage as possible and as much attack percent as possible. And yep, that is the full build guide for Phainon. Once again, hope you guys found the video helpful. If you did, drop a like, would be greatly appreciated. If you haven't done so already, be sure to subscribe and turn the bell icon for future videos like this, along with all the types of Star Wars content and guides. Once again, be sure to check the description to join the Discord, and I'll see you later. Peace out.